Hey guys, got a bit of an impromptu discussion video for you guys this week. Let's talk about playing in the snow, what it takes, some things to consider, how to prep, that kind of stuff. Reason I'm interested in making this video is, well, I went this past weekend to play in the snow, which if you know me at all is very exciting to me. But when I arrived to Airsoft, there were only about 10 of us, max, as opposed to a regular day where numbers are closer to 40 to 80 people, let's say. Now, obviously, this video isn't going to solve anyone's impossible driving conditions. If the snow is stopping you from actually traveling safely to Airsoft in the first place, my condolences. Also, when it comes to my field, people do enjoy playing in the snow based on my past experiences. It's normally not like this at my field, and during the winter months or snowy days, I've seen some pretty impressive turnout numbers. Today truly was an anomaly, and that's okay. I get it. Snow is a bit wet, cold, icky,
and it gets everywhere.
Let's be honest, there's really nothing worse than the feeling of snow falling into your boot either. Nobody likes wet socks, and that's not great for circulation either. I want to make this video because I believe there are people who maybe just don't know where to begin when it comes to preparing for cold weather or snow. So instead of playing, they stay home. Understandable. If you're curious about playing in the snow, please watch this video. I'm going to give you my best advice and try to set you up for success. Tip number 1, dress warm. Yes, I'm aware this is such an obvious one, but a lot of people don't know the importance of layering up. For example, a pair of thermal pants under the pants you play in is a must. Warm legs means quicker moving legs. And if your airsoft pants get a little wet from the snow, your thermal pair underneath normally stays dry and acts as an internal heater, which will dry your outside pants faster. In between games, areas like your thighs or groin, that's the pee-pee zone in case you're wondering, will naturally heat up in the damp areas of your airsoft pants and help dry your outside layers. Since we're on the topic of legs, let's move a little lower and talk about your feet. Arguably the most important part of this whole operation. Wet, cold feet is pretty much an instant go-home situation. First off, during the dry weather or summer weather, regular hiking shoes might be fine, but in the winter, you really want to consider swapping out those shoes for traditional, waterproof boots. When it snows, I keep my airsoft shoes at home and put on the shoes I normally wear when I'm shoveling snow outside. Biggest reason why is because snow boots are waterproof, but also much taller than regular boots, which prevents snow from falling in. They're also drastically more insulated than just regular athletic shoes or hiking shoes. Alright, let's move on. Keeping the chest warm is pretty straightforward. Wear thermals, fleece, something waterproof on the outer layer for sure. I rock a thermal long sleeve and literally just wear a white pullover tactical jacket that's waterproof. Grabbed it off Amazon a while back and it's deceivingly warm. Combined with my chest rig, I'd be too warm with any other additional layers. More importantly, let's talk about hands. I find that when I wear extremely well insulated gloves, my hands actually start to get that stinging feeling, like when your hands are super cold and then you put them right up against a super warm heater. It really sucks, and the vast difference in temperature can be really painful. Everyone's different, but do consider bringing warm ass gloves, but also your regular airsoft gloves. In the snow, my regular gloves actually work better because I think with blood circulation, as blood flows into your hands and fingers, very warm gloves might superheat that blood and give you that stinging sensation as it constantly flows in and out through your hands. I think what I'm trying to explain is that in certain parts of your body, there's a change in temperature. You don't want it to be too crazy in one area of your body and then way different in another, because then you're going to feel possibly that stinging sensation. Hopefully that makes sense, or at least that's how I like to understand it. All I'm saying is to consider multiple options when it comes to gloves. Sometimes super warm gloves can make you feel uncomfortable. Bring a few options to the field. As for keeping your head warm, it's different for everybody. Here's the dilemma I go through, and you can let me know if it's similar. During cold weather, things like my goggles and ear protection can be very cold when I initially place them onto my face, with the rest of my helmet. To combat this, I wear a thermal neck warmer which I can also stretch towards the back of my head to cover my ears and chin. I could cover the rest of my face, but I prefer to keep my mouth and nose uncovered so I can better speak to my teammates and better breathe moisture away from my face rather than trap it inside fabric touching my face. Again, everyone's different and seems to be wearing balaclavas or neck warmers differently. Regardless, it's good to have one. As for the goggles, not much I can do here. They're always going to be cold when they immediately touch my skin, but that feeling goes away pretty quick. If you can, try to leave your iPro or helmet inside your car or somewhere warm so when it's game time, you aren't placing ice cold headgear on yourself every single time. Alright, tip number 2, and trust me, you're gonna want to listen to this one. Get yourself a pair of gaiters. This is my absolute game-changing advice. Pair your winter boots with gaiters. Gaiters are sort of like waterproof, or more importantly, entry-proof wrapping that attaches around the bottom of your heel and goes up to the top of your shins, typically. Combine these with insulated waterproof footwear, and you're gonna feel invincible out there. I cannot tell you how few people I see out there with gaiters. Guys, take advantage of this extremely cheap gear. These were like $15 online, and I can run around in snow up to my knees and keep 99% of it out of my shoes. The trick to running around in deep snow in gaiters is, instead of taking big huge steps out and back into snow as you run, it's more effective to actually take smaller steps within the snow, but also drag your feet forward. With gaiters on, my feet and legs are like little snow plows. I push the snow forward as I move. This helps me stay fast in the snow, and I use less energy compared to lifting my legs up high with each step. Trust me, absolute game changer. Get yourself a pair of gaiters and you'll completely forget the reason you don't play in the snow. Tip number 3, charge your shit. Or bring extra. I use HPA, so I don't need to worry about batteries like most, but I do still have to deal with battery banks for all my cameras, so I'm not completely off the hook here. Just remember to have a backup battery, or as many as you can manage if you're rocking an AEG. Don't show up to the field with a half-charged LiPo. That might be okay in June, but January, less likely. Cold weather affects the stored charge in batteries. You know, protons and electrons. Science shit. Think of it this way. A fully charged battery might be more like 3/4 charge capacity in the winter. At least have that mentality going in, and you won't have any unpleasant surprises. For me, I use very high capacity battery banks to keep my cameras plugged into a power source at all times. So I don't have to pay much attention to this sort of thing, but I definitely charge the night before. Now, tip number 4. Let's talk about movement. I brushed on this a bit while talking about gaiters, how smaller steps but a forward leg plowing movement is more effective than big steps in and out of the snow, but let's talk about some other things you can do in the snow to help with movement. Here's an obvious one. Sliding. Normally, sliding around isn't a great idea, especially when there isn't snow. It wrecks your pants much faster with friction on bare surfaces, and you might fall forward or get caught on something. With snow, especially deep snow or powdery snow, my favorite. Oh yes, sliding is so much fun. Don't be afraid to slide to cover. It takes practice, but also only really something unique to snow games. It's a great excuse to use alternate forms of movement, rather than slower, clumsier steps in deep snow. Use the snow and its slipperiness to your advantage. That's all I'm saying. Befriend the snow. Be one with the snow. It doesn't have to be an obstacle to your movement. Instead, let it help you get around quicker, where possible. On the contrary, where snow can't be utilized for quick movement, it can be utilized for stacking those kills. Think about it. You've got yourself a good position, and all your targets are taking risky movements around in that cumbersome, deep snow. More often than not, movement is in slow-mo when it comes to trekking in the snow. Capitalize on this. Enemy making a run? Take your shot. it's much more difficult to dodge BBs in the snow than anything else. This goes both ways though, but it's best to be aware of this disadvantage. Turn this disadvantage into your advantage. Moving on to tip number 5, utilize proper camo. I'm not telling you to go ham here, because it is hard enough adjusting to snow and wearing the right stuff, but it is well worth the effort. Try to incorporate a little white into your loadout. Like I said earlier, I rock a white pullover tactical jacket, and honestly, maybe I'll swap out my gaiters for some white gaiters while I'm at it. My kit is fairly dark to begin with, being mostly black and gray, so swapping in a little white is pretty easy for me. Of course, this all depends on your field. Maybe you can rock some green with a little white, or maybe you'll just go solid white, vest and gear included. I mean, come on, what other time of year can you wear friggin' white? Blending in with the snow, even just a little, is a great tactical advantage, and honestly, more fun for me than trying to blend in with the typical year-round vegetation. This kind of gear gets me amped for snow combat. It makes me desire playing in the snow. Rocking that white kit really hits different. I don't know. And finally, tip number 6. Don't get frustrated when shooting at your target in the snow. BBs are white, snow is white. I know, not a good combo, and it might be difficult tracking your BBs out there, especially if snow is actively falling during game time. I suppose you could try and use BBs that aren't white in color, like black BBs or green BBs. I actually haven't tried that. It might work, but more importantly, I will say, try to stay calm and enjoy the moment. You get to play in the snow. That's honestly cool enough. Also, try an optic with some form of magnification. Magnified optics naturally have a better time tracking BBs during flight. After some practice or experience playing in the snow with my magnified optic, I have a lot less trouble tracking my BBs. Truly, I do. Well, that's about it, guys. That's honestly exactly how you play Airsoft in the snow, or at least that's how you do it right. It's really not as bad as it may sound. Just stay warm, stay dry, and please, oh man, please get yourself a pair of gaiters. Such a game changer. Let me know if you're a regular snow softer, or if you're curious to try it someday. What are your experiences playing in the snow? Any good memories? Bad ones? I'd be happy to read what you guys have to say. Alright, see you next time.